I've studied a lot of animals in my time, not by profession, but by observation, and one creature that always intrigued me was the lion. Now here's what's interesting. The lion is not the tallest, not the fastest, not the strongest, but it's the king. Isn't that something? What makes the lion the king has nothing to do with size or speed. It's all about mindset. It's about mentality. The lion wakes up with purpose. He doesn't roam around hoping something will happen. He expects it. He's not looking to be motivated. He's looking to conquer. That's the kind of attitude we need in life and business. That's the kind of mindset that changes a man's direction. Most people wake up with a sheep mentality. I hope things go right. The lion doesn't hope. He decides. The lion doesn't respond. He leads. And let me tell you, if you want real change in your life, you've got to stop negotiating with your old self. Stop reasoning with your doubts. The lion doesn't ask, should I hunt today? The lion says, it's hunting time. And now, what gives the lion that edge? It's courage. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's action in the face of it. You've got to be bold enough to go after what you want, even if it scares you. Most people miss their best opportunities because they were waiting for the fear to go away. The lion doesn't wait. The lion moves. And let me say this, discipline is the lion's real power. See, hunger makes the lion chase, but discipline makes him wait for the right moment to strike. That's a key lesson. Most people fail not because they lack desire, but because they lack patience and focus. They chase every rabbit and catch none. The lion waits, the lion plans, and when it's time, he executes. If you want to rise above average, you need to develop that same mentality. The mentality that says, I don't follow emotions, I follow principles. The mentality that says, I'm not intimidated by the jungle, I was born for it. That's the shift. That's when your life begins to rise. Now, here's the final thought. The lion doesn't brag about being the king. He just acts like it. You don't need to shout about your goals. You don't need to post every step you take. What you need is quiet progress, internal fire, consistent action. That's lion mentality. So ask yourself today, are you going to lead your life or just live it? Because there's a difference. One makes history, the other reads about it, and I'd rather be remembered as someone who led than someone who watched. Responsibility to lead begins with understanding that leadership is not about a title, position, or applause. It's about accountability. It's about waking up each day and realizing that your actions, your thoughts, your decisions, they don't just affect you. They shape the culture around you. They influence your family, your team, your future. To lead is to accept the weight of that truth and still press forward. Most people want the benefits of leadership without the burden. They want recognition without responsibility, status without sacrifice. But that's not how real leadership works. The moment you decide to rise above average, you inherit the responsibility to set a better example, to think beyond your own comfort, and to act in the best interest of what you're building, not just what you're feeling. Leadership starts with self-leadership. You can't lead others until you lead yourself. And leading yourself means managing your emotions, your discipline, your time, your reactions. It's about being the thermostat, not the thermometer. The thermostat sets the temperature it influences. The thermometer just reflects what's going on around it. That's the difference. When you carry the responsibility to lead, you don't allow your environment to dictate your behavior. You decide who you are and how you show up regardless of external pressures. You choose consistency over convenience. You choose vision over impulse. You hold yourself to a standard even when nobody is watching. That's the real test of leadership. Most people confuse leadership with control, but the truth is, leadership is more about service than superiority. A true leader takes responsibility for problems they didn't cause simply because they believe they can be part of the solution. A leader doesn't blame, a leader builds, even when it's inconvenient, even when it costs them comfort or approval. They understand that if you're going to lead, you have to be willing to stand alone sometimes. You have to be willing to be misunderstood, judged, even criticized, not because you're wrong, but because leadership always walks ahead of the crowd, and people don't always like what's unfamiliar, but you do it anyway, because you're not leading for applause, you're leading for impact. Taking responsibility to lead means you don't get to take days off from being intentional. You don't get to hide when it's hard or quit when it's slow. You're responsible for momentum. You're responsible for energy. You're responsible for making sure that you don't lose sight of the bigger picture. And yes, you're human. You'll get tired. You'll have moments of doubt. But leaders don't stay there. Leaders take ownership of those feelings and redirect themselves toward purpose. Because when you signed up to lead, you signed up to be the example. And being the example means showing others how to move forward when life gets muddy, not just when it's clear. It's easy to lead when everything is going well, when people agree with you, when success is visible, but that's not when leadership is truly tested. Leadership is tested in silence, in uncertainty, in opposition. Responsibility shows up in the moments nobody else wants to take charge, in the moments when blame is flying and the path is unclear. Leaders don't wait for permission. They step up. They say, "I've got it." Not because they have all the answers, but because they're willing to find them. Because they're willing to carry the weight even when it's heavy. That's what makes a leader trustworthy. Not their perfection, but their ownership. You don't become a leader by accident. You become a leader by decision. A decision to be different. A decision to rise. A decision to take responsibility for the energy you bring into a room, the culture you create, the legacy you leave. Leadership is a daily choice, not a one-time event. It's built in the small, quiet moments when you choose to do the right thing even when it's hard. It's in the times you admit you were wrong, the times you say, "I don't know, but I'll find out," the times you stay calm in chaos and focused in noise. It's how you handle the pressure of being looked to, followed, and modeled after. Because like it or not, when you lead, people are watching, they're learning, they're copying, so you lead not just with words, but with behavior. With values, with integrity. Leadership is not about being in front. It's about being accountable. You're accountable for the culture you tolerate. You're accountable for the standards you set. You're accountable for the growth you demand from yourself and from others. And that's no small task. That's why most people avoid it. They'd rather complain than carry. They'd rather criticize than contribute. But real leaders don't hide behind noise. They rise with action. They understand that influence is a responsibility, not a reward, and that means using it well. That means leading with humility, not ego, with clarity, not chaos, with intention, not just ambition. Taking responsibility to lead means asking better questions. Instead of saying, "Why isn't someone doing something about this?" the leader says, "What can I do?" Instead of asking, "Who's to blame?" the leader asks, "What's the solution?" Instead of waiting for direction, the leader creates a path. That's what separates people who just exist from those who leave impact. Leaders are not driven by feelings, they're driven by purpose. They know where they're going, and they don't let noise distract them. And when failure comes, and it will, they don't play the victim. They evaluate, they adapt, they keep moving. Responsibility to lead is also about developing others. A true leader doesn't want followers. They want other leaders. They invest in people. They challenge people. They create environments where people can grow, stretch, and step into their own power. That's a heavy responsibility to lead in a way that multiplies leadership. But that's what legacy is. It's not what you build alone, it's what you build into others. Leaders don't just set goals, they raise people. They don't just manage, they mentor. They don't just instruct, they inspire. And that takes patience, that takes vision, that takes a commitment to seeing people not just as they are, but as they could be. There will be days when you don't feel like leading, days when you want to hide, retreat, or disconnect. But those are the days that matter most, because leadership isn't about convenience, it's about commitment. When you carry the responsibility to lead, you carry the responsibility to keep going, not blindly, but boldly. Not because you have all the strength, but because you've made a decision to rise. You've made a decision to live by principle, not emotion, to respond with wisdom, not reaction, to create progress, not just protect comfort. And that decision, day by day, builds a life of meaning, impact, and purpose. Because at the end of the day, real leaders don't wait for the world to change. They take responsibility and they lead it there. Relentless focus and discipline are the foundation of a life built on purpose, not preference. In a world overflowing with distractions, temptations, and noise, the ability to narrow your vision and commit to a course of action without constant deviation is what separates the exceptional from the average. Focus is not about doing more, it's about doing what matters most, with clarity, consistency, and full engagement. Discipline is not about punishment or pressure, it's about alignment, about bringing your actions into harmony with your values and long-term goals. Together, relentless focus and discipline form the engine that drives lasting achievement, personal growth, and a life that means something. Relentless focus means you don't just set goals, you stay with them. You don't just start projects, you finish them. You don't jump from idea to idea hoping something sticks. You commit to mastery. This kind of focus is rare because it requires sacrifice. You can't focus on everything. You have to say no to good things so you can say yes to the best things. You have to shut out noise so you can hear your own convictions. You have to stop trying to please everyone so you can serve the mission that matters most. Focus requires brutal honesty about what truly matters and the courage to act on that truth. Discipline is the daily decision to do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. It is the strength to keep promises to yourself long after the mood you made them in is gone. It is the refusal to be ruled by moods, impulses, or distractions. When you live with discipline, you're not just reacting to life. You are leading it. You show up on time. You finish what you start. You do the hard things first. You develop habits that serve your future rather than feed your comfort. Discipline is not glamorous, but it's always powerful. It's quiet, it's consistent, and over time it builds a reputation of reliability and strength. What makes focus and discipline relentless is the refusal to quit. It's the ability to return to your priorities day after day, even when the results are slow, the progress is invisible, or the opposition is fierce. It's getting back up after a failure without letting shame define you. It's staying in the process even when excitement fades. It's finding meaning in the mundane and purpose in the repetition. Most people want quick results. They want motivation without effort, reward without routine. But those who achieve greatness understand that discipline is the bridge between potential and performance, between intention and impact. The reason most people never experience the fruit of relentless focus and discipline is because they're easily distracted. They chase trends instead of principles. They follow feelings instead of truth. They switch strategies every time it gets hard. They let short-term emotions sabotage long-term purpose. But the focused person, the disciplined person, has trained their mind to stay with what matters. They've developed the ability to delay gratification, to endure discomfort, to work quietly while others seek attention. They don't post every move. They don't announce every plan. They just build. And they build with excellence because their focus isn't divided and their discipline isn't dictated by mood. Relentless focus means knowing your why so clearly that your what and how become non-negotiable. When you're deeply rooted in purpose, you stop looking for excuses and start looking for ways. You stop hoping and start building. And every time life throws distractions or detours your way, your focus pulls you back. You stop wasting energy on what you can't control and start investing that energy into what you can. You become strategic, intentional, and grounded, not because life is easy, but because your mind is trained to stay fixed on the vision. Discipline isn't about being robotic. It's about being reliable. It's not cold or rigid. It's rooted and committed. People misunderstand discipline because they associate it with pressure or punishment. But real discipline is a form of self-respect. It's saying, I believe in my purpose enough to fight for it. It's saying, my future matters too much to waste my days. It's building routines that support your potential, not sabotage it. It's creating a structure that frees you to grow rather than chaining you to chaos. Discipline gives you freedom, not in the moment, but in the life it builds over time. The world will always test your focus. Life will always challenge your discipline. There will always be a reason to quit, a shortcut to take, a distraction to follow. But if you've made up your mind, if you've decided that the life you want is worth the price it costs, then you will stay in the fight. You won't flinch when it gets hard. You won't run when it gets dull. You'll return to your values, your vision, and your habits because you know the process works, even when it feels like it doesn't. And that belief is what gives your discipline power. That belief is what turns focus into fuel. The truth is, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That means what you do daily is more powerful than what you dream occasionally. That means your habits are either helping you build the future you want or holding you back from it. The disciplined person knows this. That's why they protect their mornings, guard their attention, schedule their days, and limit their distractions. They're not perfect, but they're consistent. They're not the most talented, but they're the most committed. They understand that winning the long game isn't about bursts of brilliance. It's about repeated acts of discipline. Focus and discipline are muscles. You don't wake up with them. You develop them. You strengthen them through repetition, through challenges, through setbacks. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you grow stronger. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you build confidence. Every time you stay the course when it would be easier to quit, you prove to yourself that you are capable of more than comfort. And over time, these small choices compound into excellence. They shape your identity. They define your reputation. They become the foundation of a life that doesn't just react to circumstance, but creates results on purpose. There will be days when your focus slips, when your discipline falters. That's part of the process. But relentless focus and discipline aren't about perfection. They are about alignment. It's about returning again and again to what matters, no matter how many times you drift. It's about reminding yourself of the cost of distraction, the power of consistency, and the promise of your potential. It's about rising every morning with the quiet resolve that says, today I build, not because it's easy, not because it's flashy, but because it's worth it. Because the future you want doesn't come to the distracted or the lazy or the wishful. It comes to those who are focused. It comes to those who are disciplined. It comes to those who refuse to give up.